Well, I grew up in Overland Park, grew up at 101st and Antioch. Of course, it was a gravel road then, and me and my brothers actually sold lemonade to the guys that paved Antioch for the first time. Went down to TG&Y and bought some stuff. Dad actually started with Elmhurst Fire Department in 1967, and then Elmhurst and Overland Park merged in, I think, 68, somewhere in there. And so he spent 23 years on, was assistant chief, volunteer assistant chief. And so I've been around the fire department quite a few years, as long as I can remember, and grew up with the Brookards and the DuPonts and the Harpers and a lot of the other families around.
I guess my humblest beginnings were my first volunteer meeting that I went to when I got interested in doing fire service, which I owe to my brother-in-law, Chris Madsen. He kind of got me interested in doing it. Said, why don't you come up and volunteer, see if you like it. You know, might be something you can do. I think I was cleaning chimneys and doing ceramic tile work at that period of my life. I lived about half a block from Station 1 on Foster, and a lot of times I beat the trucks in to the call and got to sit there and wait for them to show up. I did spend a lot of time at the station, did ride out a lot, spent weekends up there when I could, and kind of got the feel of things, how to fit in, blend in type thing. And so the next time they hired, I went after it and got it.
Started applying for jobs around the area and got hired on with Spring Hill Fire Department. Chief Melvin Murray, which was Keith Murray's dad, hired me, and I worked for them for about 6 months, and then Chief Brookard called me and asked if I wanted to come work for the fire department. And I said yes. I actually went paid in 1982. January 4th, 1982 is when I started Station 1 on Captain Henry DuPont shift, and had some of my co-workers was Firefighter Jim McGee and Firefighter Bill Metcalf, and then Dwayne Tracy and Roger Gray were my lieutenants. We had 2 lieutenants at that time, and Dale Backless was there with me, Ronnie Birch, and or I should say I was with them. I was the new guy in there. We had a good shift. Mike Daly was there with us, and had a lot of fun. It truly was a family. They took care of you. It obviously was a lot different than now. People, Chief Nimitz would have a heart attack if she knew some of the stuff we used to do back then, but it was just good people. And I had a lot of people that I knew as a kid growing up. Now I got to work with them and got to play with a lot of cool toys, and you know, we ran everything hot, and we ran every call like it was a major emergency. Weren't real busy, but we stayed busy enough. So.
There's something about it, gets in your blood, and it's like, it's becomes second nature, becomes like a need almost to help people, to be a help. And you know, it carries over into your personal life too. You're actually never off duty. You think you are, but you're really not, because when you're at church or when you're at a meeting or you're anywhere out in public, you're the first one to respond when something happens. And I've done it several times off duty before I actually knew what I was doing, like in church a couple of times. We're up in the choir loft and I look down and somebody's fainted down in church, and before I know it, I'm down the stairs trying to find out what's wrong, you know, putting them in Trendelenburg position and, you know, all that stuff before you actually know. You know, telling people to call 911, the training just kind of kicks in, you know, and everybody kind of looks at you, are you a doctor? No, not really. But it's, you're just never off duty, and you just get used to that.
The fire investigation, you know, that started way back with John Deneen, Jimmy Deneen's dad, and then Bill Harper and all up through the ranges. And Ted McIntosh truly had a vision for us to have a truly integrated fire investigation team with the police department. And that has come to fruition. Right now we enjoy a great working relationship with Detective Sanders, Detective Tagnasian. Detective Terry Allen was involved in that from the beginning. And we have just a great working relationship. We put a lot of bad guys in jail. It's not a glamorous job. It's not one everybody gets a lot of pats on the back for, but our investigators will hunt them down and put them in jail.
This one thing I remember was we were actually got dispatched to a fire at Meadowlark Hills, and we were around college in Antioch. And this was when we were running out of the mobile home that used to be Station 4. And so we got dispatched to Meadowlark Apartments up around 93rd and Robinson. And Jim Coyner stood up in the back of the open cab and looked over the hood of the truck and saw this great big column of black smoke. And he got this funny look on his face and started giggling and laughing. And because Art was driving, and he got that thing up to 50, 60 miles an hour, whatever it was, going down Antioch, and Coyner was laughing and going, man, it don't get any better than this, riding backwards at 60 miles an hour, going to a fire. I'll never forget that. And he looked wide-eyed and just happy as he could be. And I thought, man, what have I gotten into here?
To be able to look back at some of the memories that we've had, guys like Grant Warnicki and Mark Sweeney and some Ed Rackley, who was just phenomenal as far as leading people. And unfortunately, some of those guys still work here, so I can't talk a lot about what we did, but you know, those things will always stick with me. It's easy once you're in here to kind of look internally and not realize what you have. You know, Keith Murray always said it the best, that it's amazing we're getting paid for what we used to do for free. And it is a good job. Things have changed. It isn't like when I started, and never will be, because society's changed. Even with the hardships, even with the decisions made that maybe we don't like, it's still a great place to work. It's still a steady paycheck, if you want to look at it that way. And I've just enjoyed coming to work. Even today, as I'm leaving, getting ready, when I made the decision to retire, it's not because I don't like the job. Parts of it, I've done enough. Getting up in the middle of the night, don't like doing that so much. You know, after being on shift and going into prevention, loved that part of the job, but still getting up at night doing fire investigations. And it's going to be nice to be home every night. It's going to be nice knowing that after 4 days I don't have to go back to work.
I'd like to thank the department for all that it's given me. Like I said before, it's a great place to work. They gave me education. I went and got the college that I wanted while I was here. I got the training that I wanted. They afforded me those opportunities. And it's allowed me to retire at this age and move into another field, a related field of fire investigation. And you know, I think it was great that they did that for me, and I appreciate it. So thank you.
You know, Rick Staples from the police department said something when he retired, that you know it's time to retire when you see people, or when people start asking you, hey, when are you going to retire? So they're either tired of you or they want your job, and I'm good with that.
This way. I'm serious. It looks weird, it really does.
Yeah. Like, I better not.
I don't know what to do with my hands. Yeah, I'll put them back here. The fact that we're driving this truck today, and I'm assigned to this truck, which I think most people know is probably my least favorite truck in the whole department, because it doesn't turn well. It's not comfortable to drive. It just has a bunch of odd things about it. So it's fitting that I'm riding that truck my last shift here.
I do want to make one confession, and he promised that made me promise I wouldn't tell you this, but Chief Diener actually really loved Tadja. I used to catch him out feeding her biscuits, and they were like buds. You know, he'd scratch her belly. So when he says he didn't like that dog, oh, you know, it's almost embarrassing watching how he'd talk to him like a little baby, but he really did love Tadja. And I'm not crying, my eyes are watering here. You know what they always say, it's like a cup of water. The department's like a cup of water, and you get your finger, you pull it out there in any hole. You guys will do without me. So.